Jasmine.
Hello.
We are officially starting the recording. So let's get right into this. This is a very special live training class that I'm hosting and having my special co-host with me, Jasmine Shea, who's here as well with us. And I'll introduce her in just a moment. But our intention today is really simple. What we're going to cover, it's really simple. This is how to get coaching clients. One of the reasons that really inspired this for me is, as most of you guys know, with inside of our community and inside Business by Design, I'm teaching entrepreneurs how to really create a scaled and more leveraged business, how to reach more people with digital products, whether it's a group coaching program like TCP or an online course or a membership. That's our primary focus, and that's what I do. That's what I was able to do. Built over $1 million a year business with a $97 online course, and took that to now where we're close to 8 figures in revenue for the year. And as I teach that to people, what I found that really was a concern for me that I needed to address was how many people who wanted to scale, wanted to have courses, want to have digital products, wanted that, but were still struggling to make any money at all, and had no cash flow, no revenue, no sales coming in any regards. And as a result of that, we're putting a lot of stress and pressure and acting from a place of like urgency and fear when it came to growing an online business. So every launch was a do or die thing, right? Like, if this launch doesn't work for my online course, then I'm going to have to go back and get a job. And I just think that that is one of the worst ways that we could approach business. And you've probably heard from Jim how important it is not to be operating from fear. And so I wanted to address that. I wanted anybody that I work with, and you guys as well, to not have to worry, just like not worry about making money. Like, wouldn't that be nice? Like, that's just not a thing anymore. And I look at my business and I don't really take big risks. I don't think you need to take big risks. I don't think we need to be like, hey, I don't have any money in the bank account, but let's drain what I have and go into debt and throw it all into Facebook ads and cross your fingers and hope we make some money. That just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. That doesn't seem like someone who's a very wise business owner. And so I want for everybody, no matter what direction they want to go in their business, to actually have like no cash flow issues, to really have like a baseline for incoming consistent revenue every single month. And I think that's what we're really here to talk about, because I believe that getting coaching clients, whether it's one-on-one or small group, is the most effective way to do that. And to be smart with our money would mean, if you're somebody that does want courses or scaled or digital products, to not go after that until you have some sort of comfortable baseline. Does everyone know what I mean by that when I'm saying that? Like, X amount of dollars per month, that number would allow you to not worry about money. Okay? So what I'm making the argument for, and what we're going to show you how to do, is exactly that getting coaching clients, and this is no new revolutionary thing, it's just how I want you guys to look at that, is going to give you that certainty, that cash flow, and it's going to be the most effective and fastest way to do it, so that whatever else you want to do, you can go do it with less risk. Okay? So I just want to ask a few questions first to check in with our live people, so that so we get a feel of where people are at. Who is somebody that has or wants to have more like scaled digital products, like course, membership, etc.? And just kind of let me know in the chat box. And you can say no if you don't or don't want to, etc. Okay, cool. Yeah, awesome. And then who already has one-on-one coaching clients that you're working with? Go ahead and type in a 1 in the chat box if you already do. Cool. Beautiful. Awesome. Okay, great. And then let's ask this question, and you should be writing this one down as well. What is a baseline, and there's no right or wrong answer, revenue per month that allows you to have a sense of certainty and peace of mind? Now, well, Thomas is asking gross, and it just depends on, like, yeah, I want to say gross, but it's also like, if how many expenses are we talking about? Because, like, let's say it's without paying for Facebook ads and without a team. The good news is getting coaching clients, the biggest cost is going to be your time. So there are some big numbers that people are throwing out. I mean, big is relative. So I just want to make sure that I've asked the question effectively, and you've heard what I've said. I'm not actually asking for what's your goal every month. Like, how much money would you like to be making every month? It's what's that minimum number that you need to have coming in that allows you to have a sense of certainty, trust, faith that you can go do something else, that you can try a risk, that you can, do a launch or go focus on a Facebook ad campaign. And so whatever number you wrote down, so like some people wrote like 15,000 a month. Does that mean that if you made 14,000 next month, you're like, oh shit, pulling your hair out, right? And if it's no, then it's actually a lower number, right? I'm not looking for goals here, right? Like if you only did, 9,000 a month from coaching clients, right? Does that make you go, holy crap, I got to close up shop. I can't keep doing this, right? So that's really what we're looking for as a baseline. It's not how much money do you want to make next month, because that's a whole nother exciting conversation that we get to have, right? And so part of looking at this too is like looking at a portfolio or suite of offerings that revenue is coming in from different sources. And that's really the angle. This is why this is so important to me that we talk about it from this angle, is that the analogy I use is it's like two trees. One-on-one and non-leverage work, you can grow that tree really fast. You plant that seed and boom, you could get a coaching client by the end of today. I can't tell you how many times when we teach this information, we have people closing deals the same day, getting clients the same day, right? We just did a retreat last week, a workshop, 2-day workshop. Did anybody come to that? Was anybody here on this call that was there? I know Jasmine was. If you were, just type in a yes in the chat box. So Vicky was there, Joanne was there, and we had somebody close a client the same day, like an $800 deal, or I think it was $800 client, like the same day. It was awesome, right? So that type of stuff happens. However, you already know that that tree, although it grows fast, gets stunted pretty fast. In other words, it's limited by how much time, effort, and energy you have in a day, how many clients you can take on, if we're speaking from a one-to-one. And so to me, it's not about filling, unless you want it to, it's your life, it's your business. It's not about filling up as many clients as you can take and going to a max. It's about really looking at it and saying, what's that baseline I need so that I have consistent certainty money? And then with the rest of my space, time, and energy, I can put my efforts on more scalable revenue and income. Okay. So does that make sense? What I'm saying? This is how we look at it. Unless you just like, you know what, James, I just want to be a coach and I just want to get full-time clients. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just sharing how I look at that. Okay. Okay, cool. So that's kind of why I said coming up with that baseline number. And I want you to hold on to that minimum number, that number that gives you like certainty to keep the doors open every month. So we're gonna dive into that in just a moment, okay? So we're going to talk about, I don't feel that anything I'm sharing is new or different. Some of you have already doing this. Some of you have already heard of this. We're not here to share some revolutionary new idea. In fact, I roll my eyes at revolutionary new ideas. I think a lot of people are looking for, there must be some other secret. There must be some other hidden gem that the experts and gurus are holding away in a vault. And people will hop from guru to guru and secret to secret looking for the right one or the best one. And I just like roll my eyes at that. And I hope that's not you. We're going to give a simple, proven strategy that not just us, not just we are using, but countless other people are doing. We think it's the most effective way for getting clients. And then we're just going to dive deep into it. We're going to show you exactly what's working for us and how we're using it and how you can start getting clients at higher rates like by the end of tomorrow. And my co-presenter today is a dear friend, someone who's very special to me. She was a member of Team Wedmore, went off and built her own business, and then has come back to be one of our head coaches and does all of our sales calls for us and actually trains others on how to do sales calls. And she's going to be here co-creating with us. And that's Jasmine Shea. So Jasmine, go ahead and say hello. How you doing?
Yeah, hi guys. Glad to be here. And it's interesting when James reached out and asked if I was interested in co-facilitating this with him and mentioned the topic of getting coaching clients, we both agreed that it's what you're doing on the call that will really differentiate you. So there's nothing new we're sharing here. There's nothing that's like some magic secret, but we are going to equip you with the tools so that you can confidently go get on the phone, have that outreach, and start showing people how you can help them in such a powerful way. So I'm very excited to be here with you guys. And some of you I was on the call with. Yeah.
Yep. So that's also extra, especially fantastic, Polina, that like when we've had the experience from the other end, you get both sides of it, and it's going to be really great. Jasmine, do you roughly know like how much in revenue that you've done just with our company in the past like 2 years?
Yeah, it's over $1 million.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the exact figure would be beyond that, but.
So I mean, I knew it was going to be at least $1 million. So, but we don't have an exact number, but Jasmine has done over $1 million in sales for us in the past 18 months to 2 years. We've done that without a single Facebook ad. There's no paid advertising that's gone into this. We're going to show you how we're doing all of that from every step of the way. You're going to walk away with a complete process for this. Also, your conversion rates, which we're going to talk about that, are phenomenal. What would you say average conversion rate for you is right now?
It's amongst all offers, it's over 70%.
Yeah, which is you don't want 100%, because then we're saying, maybe our prices are too low, right? So we really like that sweet spot. We're going to get into that as well. So Jasmine's going to co-create this with me. We're going to get to look at a lot of things. We're going to get into a lot of questions and conversations. It's going to be really great. So let me bring up my screen, and I'm going to bring your attention to kind of like the framework that we're going to be working from, which you guys are going to all get access to this, which is our process for getting coaching clients. Now, here's the important thing to get. So you guys are going to get this afterwards. So this will all be in your portal. This will be with the recording and all that good jazz. This works for anything, right? So it's going to work great for one-on-one coaching to get some one-on-one coaching clients. It works for group programs. It can even work for digital products. If that's what you want to do. So keep in mind, the strategy is the strategy, and the strategy works, and you can apply it to any offerings that you have. Okay. So one of the things that we like to take everyone through when we teach a new strategy is a 5-step planning process. So 5 steps to create anything. I love this. This is a concept we created internally with our company that we now do for any launch, any promotion, any project, any revenue generating activity. 5 steps. Dream it, map it, book it, chunk it, do it. And that's how I like to teach as well. So the first step is really simple. And we're going to do this together right now, which is dream it. Now, dream it is like the goal setting. Okay. So you guys came up with your number that you said is like a baseline number. I'll let you choose whatever number you'd like, but let's just kind of role play one out. Let's say you said, you know, at the bare minimum, I would love to have $5,000 a month coming in from a few coaching clients, so that it's giving me some certainty and I can go focus the rest of my time and energy on, you know, whatever the next thing is you'd like to work on, or maybe it's just getting more coaching clients, right? So if you start with that number, I want you to write that number down for yourself as a per month basis. And this is a real simple thing that we're going to do. Okay. So let's say that's your goal, right? 5,000 a month. Now, what I'd like you to do is to come up with at least one, and this is where people are going to start to get in their head. So buckle up, get ready. At least one specific rate for how much you would charge per month for a one-on-one coaching client. If you want to come up with a few options. Now, what's going to be really great is people make the mistake of creating the offer first and then the price second. And we're actually going to start with the price first. So, well, technically you start with your revenue objective first, and then you create the price from that. This is what will feel counterintuitive and backwards, and I promise you this is the most effective way to do it. So go ahead and write into the chat box, what is one, and I don't want you to be tied to this. I don't want you to look at this or right or wrong. I say, what's one possible monthly rate that I could have for a one-on-one coaching package? Go ahead, humor me, type it into the chat box. What do you got? Okay, we've got 600, 1,000, 500 euros, 350 a month, 1,200, 1,666. Cool. Okay, great. So here's where people start to get really crazy, right? How many of you, when you came up with that number, just type in yes if this was you, said how much would someone be willing to pay me to talk to them every month? Did anybody ask that question? How much? Yeah. Great. Thank you for being honest, right? That's the worst question that we could ever be asking ourselves. How much is someone willing to pay? How much would they want to pay? It's the worst question because the answer is always as little as possible, right? It's always as little as possible. So that means you're already asking a question that's going to give you an answer that you don't want anyways. So instead, and again, this isn't even a call about pricing. So I don't want to spend too much time here, but here's what you're going to do instead. You pick a price, you try on a price like it's a new jacket or a new pair of clothes. You try on that price, whether it was $1,000 a month, right? And then you say, or you ask yourself, what would I need to offer, deliver, provide? What problems would I need to solve? What value would I need to create for this person that would make $1,000 a freaking no-brainer for them? That's what you're going to do. And we're not going to go deep into that, but that's how you want to, if you want to make more money and have greater offers, that is the simple reverse engineering process to creating a better offer. You start with the price and then you reverse engineer it. Does that make sense? I'm not saying to have all the answers to that question instantly right now, but I want you to consider that when you're coming from, okay, you know what? I want 5 clients paying $1,000 a month. So they say, well, what am I going to need to help them with? What type of problems am I going to need to solve for? What kind of results am I going to need to help them with? What am I going to need to give them, offer them, help them with that would make them paying $1,000 a month a no-brainer? Also consider what type of clientele would I need to attract that would make paying $1,000 a no-brainer? Better quality questions are going to give you a better quality life. And those are the type of questions you're going to want to lead with. So let's say that you came up, and there's no right or wrong answer. I know people charging thousands of dollars per month for each client, right? $5,000 a month. But you start at a place that feels good but a little uncomfortable, so you have room to grow, right? And that number is your number. And if you start getting 100% close rate on your calls, and you're starting to fill up your schedule, all that means is it's time to raise your prices, okay? So let's use this scenario for just a moment of $1,000 a month is your rate, and you want to do $5,000 a month. So how many clients would you need, right? How many would you need? Does anyone want to answer the really obvious question? Yeah, 5. Now, whether that's in a group or individually, I'm just gonna let you choose that. But let's say you said, okay, I want $5,000 a month. It's $1,000 a month. I would need 5 people. This is pretty simple math. Anybody who says they're not a math person, you can stop telling yourself that lie and any other lie whenever you'd like to. So what we're gonna operate from is doing this process, free phone strategy sessions at a 50%, as a guideline of 50% conversion rate. So how many phone calls would you need to have in order to hit that goal? Yeah, Paulina's got it. Good, cool. So that's what I'd like you to do right now, is do the math. And I want you to write down on whatever you're taking notes with, and I want you to post it in the group. How many phone calls would you specifically need to have in order to reach that goal? And very good. Yeah, it could be per month. Cool. Cool. And I'd like to have everyone post. Yeah, so 10, 20, Mandy's saying 60. So part of that too is going, wow, 60 is a lot of calls, right? That's 2 a day, basically, every single day. So then you want to start asking yourself, is that realistic for me? Is that what I want to do? And if it's not, something's got to give. Something's got to change. We either need to hire someone to do some calls for us, or we need to start raising that price. But unless you've already been doing calls, I really want you to set 50% as your guideline, okay? So I'm thinking anyone who's at like 25 or less, you're really good. 20 for the month, right? Okay. So you have that number. That's going to be a really important number, because what I like to get with people in this step 1 is to get them away from the revenue, get them away from the monetary goal, and get you into what's called binary action. Binary action puts you more in the driver's seat of your revenue growth. Think about how much easier it is, like Garrett wrote down 10. Think about how much easier it is for Garrett to focus on just get 10 calls. Do 10 calls this month. That becomes so much more doable than what most people do. How do I need money. I need 5,000 this month. I need 10,000 this month. How do I do that? What do I need to, I need to make 5,000. No, just have 10 calls. Okay. So that makes sense to you guys, right? It gives you a little bit sense of more strategery, a little bit more certainty in where you can focus your attention. And yes, we're going to talk to you today about how you can get more people booked for those calls, because I know that's going to be a question. How do I get people booked for these calls? We're going to get to that. Okay. Now, you guys are still on board, right? This still makes sense? Just type in a 1 or a yes in the chat box. I want to make sure we don't go too fast for anybody. Good. So now you look at your number. Let's say your number was book 10 calls, and you're going to have 5, with that intention of having 5 clients. Here's my next question for you. If you have that number of how many calls that you're going to have, and you knew that you were going to have 50% conversion rate, does that get you to your goal? Type in a yes if you agree. Awesome. Now, here's my next question. If you're going to have 10 calls, do you know who is going to join? Yes or no? Beautiful. No. Do you know who out of the 10 are going to join? You have no idea. No idea, right? You can't predict the future. So I want you to consider that for a moment as we get into the calls. how important it is for you to be able to trust the numbers and trust the process and not get all hung up and attached to who's going to say yes and who's going to say no. In other words, what does that do to affect your energy positively? Knowing that every call you get on, you don't need this person to be the one that joins. Does that make sense what I'm throwing out, what I'm dishing up for you guys? You can trust in the process. That's exactly what Emily says. Yeah, you simply become detached from the outcome. What's going to happen if you approach any of these calls from neediness, right? Like, wow, really needy, really pushy, fear-based, urgency. Yeah, you just push people away. Exactly. So always go, yeah, when you reek of desperation, do you ever want to work with somebody? Like most of you guys are here because of Jim and TCP. Did Jim reek of desperation to you? Were you like, man, he's so desperate and needy. I want to give him a bunch of money just because I feel bad for him. No, of course not. So we want to put ourselves in check and see what type of energy are we bringing on the call. And if we're worried about the calls, we're worried about, I hope they sign up, and you're making all of your success hinging on that, then you've forgotten what we just went over, that trust the numbers, trust the process, and know that no matter what you can do, you'll never know who's going to be a yes and who exactly is going to be a no. Okay, is that helpful to you guys? Good, 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 good. Great. So here's the simple process. You can write this down. Book the call, have the call, close the sale. That is all we're doing. Book the call, have the call, close the sale. If you want to make things in your life more complicated, by all means do so. But how does that serve you? How does that serve anybody else, right? I heard a quote a long time ago, which I absolutely love, which is, if you want to impress people, make things complicated. If you want to actually help people, make it simple. That's it. Book the call, have the call, close the sale. Now you know how many calls you need to book. Have those 10 calls, okay? So here's a map. This is step 2. Again, you're going to get all this, so don't worry. I mean, you can take screenshots all you want, but you're going to get all this, so don't worry. But this is as simple, and it's also the most intricate version of this. So what you're seeing here has variables, okay? Basically, here's the phone call. The phone call has a series of steps and phases. And then at the end of the call, we're making an offer and collecting payment. Before that, we are booking the call. What I have here, and this is very important you hear, because a lot of people like to not pay attention and then overthink things. What I have are options. Certain options are having an application on the front end, and then also having a deposit, okay, with like a confirmation. I'm just going to say this right now. If you already have a massive audience, a ton of people that want to work with you, the application and the deposit are there to weed out those that are not at the highest level of interest. In other words, if you're just starting your business and you don't have 100,000 followers or even like a fraction of that, you just getting started, you're probably not going to want to put all these extra steps in place before the call. So this is the full strategy, and we do this because we have a lot of people that want to work with us. So we can do that. We weed out people by qualifying them. We have an application, a thank you video that then asks for a deposit. If you're just starting out and you don't have a big audience, you do not need to do this, okay? But the process is as simple as this. Get someone booked for the call, have the call, close the sale. So, yeah, it's so simple. I appreciate that, Shara, right? Shara? Mind already blown. Okay, great. So let me ask you, pop quiz. If this is the strategy, what James likes to focus on is the 90-10 or the 95-5. The 5%, it's Pareto principle on steroids. The 5% of activities that's directly responsible for 95% of the results. If you had to guess, what do you think is the 5% of this strategy? What do you guys think? I'm waiting for somebody to answer. It's the call itself. It's 100%, it's the call itself. 100%. If you don't put any time here into what is said and what you do here, you can book people all day long, but will you make sales? Will you get happy paying clients and customers? No. You can put all your efforts into booking more calls, reaching more people, getting them on the call, but if that isn't nailed down, it's just a waste of everybody's time. Okay? So does that make sense? You guys all get that? So if you put 100 or 95% of your effort on the call, you now take that 50% conversion rate and we start to go up. And the more that conversion rate goes up, the less people you need to book calls with. Right? So it's for that reason that we are starting here. We are going to start with the call itself. Okay? So that's where we're going to begin. And again, you get all of this stuff, but we're going to start there, and then we ripple out from there. Okay? And if you were to get just the process that we use for having a call, I would think that this would be the most valuable piece, and it would be the most valuable to you, but you're going to get all of it. Okay? So I'm going to go to the phone call itself. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute Jasmine now. And Jasmine, could you start by answering this for me? When you see other people trying to do phone sales, what would you say is the biggest mistake they're making in how they're looking at these calls?
Yeah, I would actually say what comes up for me first, because I think there's a couple common mistakes I see, but it's something that you addressed earlier, and it's that they're bringing all their own crap to the call.
Oh, great. Yeah.
That's the number one thing. And then the number two thing I think would probably be attachment to it. So, I mean,
that's probably the same as bringing their crap to it.
Yeah, so that's true.
What do you mean by bringing their crap to it?
So even how you guys feel about asking for money and how you're going into the call of bringing your own crap into it. Maybe you've had an experience where you felt someone was being salesy or slimy. So you've already created a definition of what a sales call means, and then bringing that to it, and not just showing up fully knowing that this offer is going to change their life. So I would say that's, in our sales training, that's the number one thing we address even before a guideline and a script is, let's focus on your relationship with making the call before you even start having the call.
That's so good. Let me just, by a show of hands, or just type in one, who here has had a coach in any area of your life before? Type in a 1. Okay, great. Everybody who typed in 1 was having that one-on-one coach of value to you. So one person said no, but most people said yes, right? And what that's going to come down to, and chances are the reason that person said no was not about coaching itself, but probably about the person being ineffective at the coaching, right? Usually when someone says no, it's like, yeah, they didn't know what they were doing. They weren't a very good coach. They were just giving advice the whole time, and it was bad advice, right? Has anyone had an experience with an unbelievable coach that got you to think in different ways, pushed you in ways you'd never been pushed before, and that was of value to you? Yeah, and great. People are using Jim as an example. Yeah. So why I bring this up is to address what Jasmine is saying here. And we could go so deep on this, but I don't want to, just because like there's so much we do need to cover. But here's the thing. Everyone who's saying yes, you already know that you want a result. You want something that you don't have. And the reason you got a coach is because it's like that definition of insanity is trying to do the same thing over and over again and expect different results. The result you want exists outside of the box that you've created as your life. And so you keep using what's inside the box to get what's outside the box. A great coach gets you outside your box. They point out your blind spots. They show you the habits, the thoughts, the beliefs, and the behaviors that you couldn't see yourself that are preventing you from you stepping into your greatest potential. Great coaching is what we all need to achieve our greatest, highest potential. Most people are not great self-coaches. I've gotten really good, and I still have coaches in my life. I've gotten really good at self-coaching. I know how to call myself out. I know how to ask myself better questions. I know how to get present and recognize negative emotional states, internal states, my physiology, all of that stuff. Rewrite stories, let go of the past. And that's taking me a lot of work. Most people do not know how to do that at all. And so this is why this is so important, is coaching is the difference. It makes the difference in someone's life. And so we're not going into today teaching someone how to coach, right? That's not the intention of this, because that's a whole nother thing. But if you have a coaching methodology, if you have experienced coaching, then I hope I'm just preaching to the choir and saying that there is such tremendous value in great coaching to transform the quality of someone's life. We all need it. You need it. I need it. Everyone needs it. And, need is a strong word, but it will provide value to someone who's open and coachable and someone who's a great coach. It's pretty undeniable that they're going to get results that they wouldn't have had. And so I want you to just plant that seed in the back of your mind that when someone's coming to a call, they know that. They know they need a coach. They know they need someone outside of their box to support them. And hopefully that will give you just a little bit more faith and trust in yourself and in the offer that great coaching will make a difference. Because it's so easy for us to doubt ourselves and what if I can't? Hold on, what if I can't? What if I can't? And great questions, great coaching will inevitably help someone. Inevitably. Now, how great we're using great coaching is another question, but great coaching is coaching that makes the difference. It's the difference that makes the difference. And so that's really what Jasmine's speaking to, about how much of that are we bringing into us, right? Let me get my little, hold on, guys. Do not disturb. Okay. How much are we bringing that into the call? Now, there's one other big mistake I want to bring up that Jasmine has never made, but I see all the time. And it's people looking at these phone calls as a free coaching session. It's an hour of free coaching. Let me give an hour of free advice and free tip giving and free help. And then hopefully I've helped them so much that they'll want to give me money. Who here has been guilty? We'll be honest, we've all done it, myself included. Who has done that before? Go ahead and be honest with me. We've got a couple of people who are very honest, okay? Yeah, we're mostly guilty of it, and that's because we want to help people. How did that work out for you? Right? How did that work? Yeah, it's usually no takers. It didn't. So are we really helping them? If working with someone over a longer period of time will help them more, did we really help them? And so, 30 minutes becomes an hour. Yeah. So that's the big mistake I see on top of the big mistake that Jasmine brought out, is that I want to be very clear. What we're teaching here is not how to just give a free, I think it's one of the worst things people are doing. It's just free coaching for an hour. Let me give you a bunch of free value and then hope that at the end of it, if I've helped you enough, you'll want to just give me money. That, they say it's amazing. And this was amazing, Paulina. Thank you so much. Bye. Yeah. This is about developing a longer, deeper relationship with someone to help them in more than an hour. Okay. So with that being said, we're going to make the first stance with this in having that framed before they even get on the call, that the way this call is going to go is this is letting them know this is not a free coaching session. This is not free advice hour. And that you can actually frame that on the call and before the call. Okay? And we're going to show you how to do that and what that looks like. So you're not getting a bunch of freebie seekers just looking for a free coaching session. Now, Jasmine, is it fair to say that with everyone that you get on a call with, that they know that coming on the call, that this isn't, I'm just going to get a free coaching session with Jasmine?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's important to frame it on the call again, but yes.
Yeah. How would you say then we are framing this? Because this is, I think, one of the most important pieces. What is the expectation they have in mind that they're already on the same page with us when they get on the call?
Well, I feel like the optional step in that flow with the video is where you can start to talk to the responsibility component, and that this isn't just a coaching session, but are you looking for like a sentence that I would say to frame that?
No, not necessarily. What is it that they think this call is? What have you told them that this call is if it's not just a free coaching session?
Well, I'm trying to think back some of our offers. They know what offer they're interested in.
Yeah.
They're
so what would you say is the purpose of the call then for them?
Really a discovery call call to determine if we can offer what they're seeking, and then they can also offer what we're seeking. So ultimately to determine if it's a good fit.
Yeah. You can call it a discovery call. You can call it a clarity call. We can call it an interview. But this is, I mean, look, you can go ahead and say, hey, this is a free coaching session, and make a pitch at the end. But what you're going to do is most likely you're going to be lowering your conversion rates, and you're going to have far more calls that you're going to have to do. Okay. Yeah, you can call it a breakthrough session, but it's very important that you know first and foremost that you're not approaching this with free advice. Oh, you know what you should do? You should just do this. And oh, how about that? Oh, that's great. Blah, blah, blah. And that they know that it's not just a freebie call, because all you're going to be doing is attracting freebie seekers. So in the $1 million+ that Jasmine has generated from these phone calls, the individual on the other end knows that we have something for sale before getting on the call, and that there is going to be an offer being made. And that just puts everybody at ease too. Expectations, right? So what we're going to do is at a general, in the most simple way, we're going to give a high level outline first, and then we're going to go into some like specific scripting, but we don't want you to memorize scripts. But here's the biggest thing is we came up with 4 phases. Okay. 4 phases. And again, you're going to get this, but if you'd like to take notes, that's whatever works for you. First, it's setting the frame, and then it's identifying the problem or the gap. It's the recap phase, and then the offer itself. It couldn't get much easier than this. What would you say, Jasmine, for a call that was a right fit for somebody, and they did end up investing in one of our programs? What do you think is like the shortest call that you've had with someone?
Oh, probably even for our highest ticket offer, 15 to 20 minutes. 20 minutes. I've had a few 20 minutes.
Yeah. So this could happen in as little as 20 minutes. And what would you say is like the longest call you've had?
Oof. I probably had a couple. I've done hundreds, by the way, you guys. So I probably had a couple that approached on an hour, I would say.
Okay, cool. So let's just kind of create a range of 20 to 60 minutes. Go ahead.
I was just going to say there's a big difference in how effective the 60 and 20 minutes were. So you could be, what's the word you use? Not concise, elegant.
Elegant, yes. Yeah, so you've probably become more elegant and concise when you're on the call. Okay. So setting the frame is the first piece, and we're going to be looking at this from a few different examples. Setting the frame is connecting, it's rapport, it's acknowledging them for being here, and it's also letting them know how this call is going to go. Okay, so this is a really great one. We're going to take a few minutes. I'm going to ask you, or I'm going to take some time. Here's how this call is going to go. I'm going to ask you a few questions. We're going to see what you need, and to see if I can help with that. And then at the end of the call, I'll share what it is I've got, how it works, and if at that time you have any questions, feel free to ask. And then I think my two most important words in this are sound good. And that's really important because that means we're on the same page still. And they go, well, hold on, wait a second. And it's very important. A lot of people, then the mistake that people make is when they follow these 4 phases, the big mistake that comes up, and I know Jasmine doesn't have an issue, but we've taught this to other people, is they feel like they don't have control of the conversation. Jasmine, do you feel like you've ever lost control of the conversation?
Yeah, I don't want to say no, because I feel like that's how I've learned how to regain control. But in having that sentence right there, that is what establishes the control, to ask for the agreement, but also position how the call is going to go, that it's not just them asking questions right away, but it's a great lead in into me asking the very next question. This isn't opening it for more questions and comments. And it's that transition between sound good and then going right into the next question that I feel like helps to establish that.
Yeah, this is so simple, but it's critical, because if you were just to get on and be like, well, let's just start with you. Do you have questions for me, or what do you want to talk about? Like, you've just basically said, hey, I'm going to hand over control of this conversation to you. And if you did that, you're going to have a really hard time getting it back. But this question sets the frame of like, I'm telling you how this is going to go, and we're either on board or not. Now, has anyone ever said, no, that doesn't sound good?
Not that I can recall.
Okay, good. So most people are going to say yes. And then by the way, if you ever feel like you've lost control, like they just start asking questions, you can always go back and be like, oh, that's a really great question. I love that you're asking questions. But like I said at the beginning of the call, I still have a few more questions I want to go through. And then after we wrap up, there'll be plenty of time for you to ask questions. Does that sound good? So you just reinstate it, okay? So that allows you to, they're on the call for a reason, with you for a reason. So you're in charge and own it, okay? But that was a huge thing. When I was teaching this to people, they'd be like, man, I feel like they take control of the conversation. And it's because they weren't doing this piece, including those last 2 words. Sound good? And you want to get that yes, okay? So I want to give you guys just such a beautiful way to look at this too. This is a question that I want to give you, or a statement that is going to be really powerful, and you're just going to love it. And this is one of the first questions we actually want to ask. So if you look back here, like, we're going to go to phase 2, which is like creating the gap and identifying what the real problem is that we're solving. But there's something I like to do before that. And it's something to this effect, and you want to make your own version of this, but here's how it goes. So the fact that you took the time to book a session and be here on time means that some part of you believes or knows that I can help. And you want to just say it as simple as that. I can help. Okay, now there's more to this sentence I'm going to add. So what is it specifically that I can help you with? Okay, so what is it specifically that I can help you with? And then they're going to answer that question, And that's going to be the big basis of what they want. They've just told us in like 2 minutes what they're willing to invest in. Okay? This is such an important piece. And I love this. Okay? So when they're going to give you an answer, we can do one more question. What does that give or do for you? What that will do, and we can role play this, you guys. I'm more than happy to role play it out with you. What that will do is that will elicit their values, their higher values. And values are what drive decisions. So who would like to role play this out? Just say me in the chat box, if anyone would like to. Okay. Okay, great. So Polina, go ahead and unmute yourself and let us know you're there. Polina, hello. Can't hear you. Can anyone hear Polina?
I'm sorry. I'm ready.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to do this to you. So we've just gotten on a call. Okay, so we're just going to go through this, and I just want you to come up with. You can make it up. You can do whatever's real, true for you, whatever. Okay, but I'm the coach, and you're the prospect. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So Polina, you know, the fact that you took the time, you saw my Instagram post, you reached out, and you booked a call means that some part of you already knows that I can help you in your business in some way. So let's start there. How specifically do you know that I can help you in your business?
I know you can help me grow my business to 7 figures in 2020.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so growing your business to 7 figures. Okay, so pause. First of all, that's what she's given me, right? So obviously that's something she wants, right? Growing to 7 figures. And it's also giving data of like what's that?
It's a game I'm playing.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I love the game you're playing, right? So then I would ask this, I'd say, so tell me this, Polina, what does growing to 7 figures do for you? Like if you hit 7 figures at the end of 2020, what would that give you?
Abundance and freedom in impact, reaching out to as many people as I can, helping and just deriving a lot of it's fun, it's pleasure, it's just knowing I'm making a difference. It makes me happy, it makes me feel alive, and it makes me, I know that I'm living my purpose and I'm serving, and it's just very fulfilling, and that's all I want. It's being in the flow, being in alignment, being completely in alignment with what I'm here put on this earth for.
Wow. Now, most people aren't going to be as awesome and amazing as Polina and just hand you all of their values on a silver platter. So Polina gave us a lot there. She gave us a lot of different values. What do you think is her number 1 value? Can anyone guess in the chat box? What do you guys think? Because she listed about 12. Yeah. So we heard abundance and freedom first, and then the third one was impact. And then she went fun, pleasure, happy, and alive. But every time she listed a few, she went back to something that had to do with impact, purpose, alignment, serving more people. So even though she gave us so many, she gave the same variation of one of those over and over again. Did you guys notice that? Did you guys notice that with the impact, right? Polina, did you notice that? Did you meet yourself, Polina?
Yes.
Oh, there you are. Okay. So you noticed that. So what would you say, just between us, the role playing's over, what would you say is like one of your highest values if you had to guess?
Well, my top 3.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what they are. It's abundance, impact, and now I'm playing with. This morning I woke up and I decided that's playfulness. So I want to have more fun.
Yeah,
and,
it's so good.
Top 3.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it was pretty clear that impact was really high up on there, right? So now that I know what's, and thank you, Polina. Let's give her a round of applause for that. That was a fantastic example of that. So now within 3 minutes, we've created some rapport. We've got that, phase one of setting the frame, talk, just kind of casual chat for a moment, and then tell them how this is going to go. And then we get into this question. What we've done is I now know what Polina wants, which she wants to go to 7 figures. What she wants from me. She wants to grow to 7 figures. And I now know what her highest values are. Abundance, impact, playfulness, right? Fun, pleasure, happy, alive, alignment, flow, purpose, all of that, right? And our values become the very thing that drive our behavior and our decisions. So think of it this way. If I'm offering something to Polina that doesn't give her more impact, more abundance, and more playfulness, will she buy whatever it is I'm selling? If I said, this is going to have you, if I start speaking to other values, like, just gives you more time with your family, but she didn't give me that, right? Or you're going to have to work really long hours. And if I just talk about just money, right? Is she likely to buy? Yeah, chances are no. So what you have here within minutes of getting on a call with someone is what drives their decisions. And in the ethical, moral, without lying or manipulating way, your job at the end of the call is to plug in their values to your offer. Now, if she came to me and said, I really just want like a romantic relationship and fall deeper in love with my partner, I'm like, well, that's not what I do. So I'm not the right fit for you there. Right. So I'm not going to try and say, well, building a business by design is going to help you do that, because it's not necessarily, so don't try and do something that you can't fulfill on. But I'd like you to consider that by now having their values, your role is to plug in their values to see how it matches with the work that you're going to do with them. Okay. Does that make sense? Good. So that's a really powerful question that you can use. That's going to be fantastic. Let's see. April says, it's also a disservice if we don't do that and they walk away when they could have been helped. Yeah, exactly. It is. Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. So that's the real setting the frame. You could say that question is either or. It could be the first thing, because it's kind of like, it's the same here. It's like, what is it that made you invest the time to speak with me today? Kind of replaces that question. I just like that question better. So we're bouncing around a little bit. So the identify the problem or the gap. Problem is simply an experience of an unwanted situation. Like you want something, but that's not what you have. There's a gap. I want $1 million, but I don't currently have $1 million. I want a 7-figure business, but I don't currently have one. We could call that a problem in a certain sense, right? There's a gap. There's a gap between where Polina wants to be, 7-figure business, and where she is. And so the first half of these questions are diving deeper into that. What is it that you want, and why do you want that? In other words, why do you want that? Why is that important to you? Is what does that give you? It's the same question. Why a 7-figure company? What will that do for you? What will that give you? What will that allow for you? That's eliciting the values. And every time you ask one of these questions, you repeat it back to them. So what I'm hearing, Polina, is that you're looking to get to 7 figures by the end of 2020. That's your focus right now. And that by doing that, that's going to give you a lot more abundance, a lot more impact. You'll know you're on purpose, in alignment, and a lot more playfulness. Awesome. And I could even say anything else that you're looking for goals right now? Anything else? And what does that give you? Anything else? And just repeat it back to them. You're listening, you're repeating it back to them. Cool. Anything else? Got it. Great. Awesome. And then what I like to do is then either check in with where they're at. Where are you on track with that right now? Or just get into like what's getting in the way or what's preventing you from doing that right now. You know, it's any of those type of questions. What's getting in the way? Why is that a problem for you? Okay. What's preventing you from hitting that? That's going to really get us to speak to like what the real issues are of what's going on. So that's what phase 2 is like, what do you want? And then where are you now? And what's getting in the way of getting you what you want? So Jasmine, how do you speak to this and where can you add to this? Because I know you're really good, especially in the second phase.
Yeah, what I actually wanted to add is what makes it actually quite easy is when you're repeating back to them. I think one of the most important things is to only use their words. And I'm in a sales call and I'll explain more about what I mean by that. And I'll have notes everywhere, but I will circle probably 3 or 4 just key words. And it is so important for us not to mind read, but to continually repeat the words that they were saying, especially because we're reiterating all of these. So why is this important to you? Well, I want to spend more time with my kids. The iteration of that, if we say, oh, so, okay, I'm hearing you correctly that this is important to you so you can enjoy the company of your family. She didn't say that. She said, spend more time with my kids. And so this
good.
Really becomes, it becomes easy because we are only repeating what they gave us. You don't need any additional skills or any additional knowledge of anything beyond what they are telling you. And that is so important because it continues to build that rapport throughout this as well. And they can't not agree with what you're saying because you are using their words verbatim. So you'll notice all of these are questions, question. There's no teaching. And again, it's so important to use their own words. And sometimes when we get caught up, when we're teaching, it's because what do I say next? I don't know what to say. Will they think this is valuable? But if you're repeating exactly what they said, you will always be one step ahead.
So good. Do you want to role play and demonstrate this with somebody?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, who would like to role play this? Again, you have the easy role. Jasmine's going to do the questions. So Garrett said yes. So Garrett, you want to unmute yourself?
I'm gonna.
Yes,
okay, I can see.
I think
Awesome.
it works.
Okay, cool.
Hello.
So a couple things. We're going to assume already that you guys are in rapport. You're not going to be like I want you to demonstrate an easier client, right, to deal with. So we have a good example to work from. I mean, you can be difficult if you want, but it'd be easier to get through it. So you guys are already in rapport. You know why you're here on the call. Jasmine has already done that thing of like, hey, I got a series of questions I'm going to ask you. And does that sound good? You're like, yes. And then Jasmine, where would you go? And Gary, you can just answer it. You can make up something. You can pretend you're doing whatever it is you want, you know, or it could be real. It's up to you. But Jasmine, I'm going to let you start it off.
Yeah. So, all right, Garrett. So tell me, what are some of your goals right now? What are some offers that you're working on?
So we want to grow our membership to 500 members by the end of the year.
Okay. So you'd like to grow your membership by 500 members by the end of the year. And have you launched already, or what's kind of the current state of that offer?
Yeah, so we launched in August and we have 85 members. So we want to get to 500.
Okay. So you want to get to 500 members by the end of the year. Tell me, Garrett,
Mm-hmm.
why is that important to you?
Because of, let's see, financial abundance, because it will unlock so much more potential for us to live the life we want to live, because it will allow me to spend more time with my family, being my girlfriend, my son, and it will allow us to give him a great life, my son.
Yeah, great. Okay, so 500 members by the end of the year. It will unlock so much more potential for you. You'll be able to live the life you want to live, spend more time with your family and your son. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, great. So what would you say is getting in the way of you achieving 500 members by the end of the year?
Um, I'd say me limiting myself in actually seeing it as done, as a possibility, um, as
Okay.
something that's possible. Yeah.
Okay. Tell me more about that. So you said limiting yourself and seeing it as done. What do you mean exactly by
And
limiting?
I'm gonna pause here because
I think that's good enough.
no, well, no, it's really good. But I actually, what Jasmine did there is something that you're gonna have to plan for. Is that what Garrett gave us was something that we would call like really broad and general, which we could take so many, like limiting myself can mean that was his basic answer of what's getting in the way. And that can mean so many things, right? Like I'm limiting how much time I give myself. Well, what does that mean? And so if you just take whatever they give you at face value, oh, okay, limit yourself and move on, you may be in your head thinking it means something completely different than what they make it mean. And so for Jasmine to just take the time and say, and what exactly do you mean by limiting yourself? Can you tell me more about that? Garrett's now going to get into more specifics. So Garrett, what would you have said there?
I would say in commitment in doing the actual sales, it's seeing big enough in taking risks.
Okay. And we could even go even deeper. So we could say something like, so are you saying you feel like you just haven't been committed to it? Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then what do you mean about taking risks? You don't want to take any risks?
It's not that I don't want to, it's that I don't want to take the big risks. So let's say Facebook ads, for example, it always feels like a risk.
Yeah. Yeah. So what we're doing here now, which is great, is he says, well, what's getting in the way is I don't want to take risks. Oh, okay. And we move on. We're missing so much. If we said, well, what type of risks are you talking about? He already started to answer, well, spending money on Facebook ads, right? So now we're getting to specifics. And the more specific you get, the more you're going to understand who you're talking to and what their world is. And so that was really great. So, yeah, so you guys got an idea of that, right? We don't want to spend all day just doing that, but it was really simple. Jasmine's basically saying, what do you want? Why do you want it? Why is that important to you? What's getting in the way of that? Was there anything else in phase 2 that you like to do in there, Jasmine?
No, I think this is great. But one thing I want to point out as for you guys to notice as we go through these phases is how they're connected. So first we're eliciting values, and then notice how we kind of intertwine the values through the questions. And then now when we asked him what's standing in his way, he said commitment and spending money on Facebook ads. You'll see how that right there is what we want to circle and keep in mind when we go towards the offer. Because if in the offer you start talking about how you'll be with a great community and you'll have all these processes, it's not using his words. So again, it's important to just kind of circle and pay attention to the words that he's saying so you can repeat them back in the next phase. But
it's so good. Yeah. Let's bring this into the conversation now. And thank you, Garrett, by the way. I appreciate that. Let's bring this in. We learned, I taught you to bring in pacing into the call.
Yeah.
Will you speak to that a little bit? Because I think these are one of the little nuanced things that are really important.
Yeah. So pacing and also really just mirroring them. And that's why I do enjoy video calls, because I can actually see them. But pacing would be matching your pace of your words with how they are talking. So I am very energetic, and in a call, if I'm bringing that to someone who is potentially a little more reserved and a little more soft spoken, it's very important to match that tone and to pace where that's going. Is that what you meant by pacing?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Did you guys get that? So Jasmine can be very like, and we love this about her, like she's intense, she talks fast. And can you imagine how important it is, number one, for you to be in rapport with somebody, right? And them to be in rapport with you. And somebody who's like really slow and quiet, and just like a little nervous. And you're like, absolutely, yes, and blah, 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 right? Like, that's a kind of an extreme. but they're not going to feel like they're in rapport. And so what Jasmine started doing was just matching their tonality, their speed, their pitch, the volume, all of that. So much of our communication is nonverbal. And if you could just take a moment, this is like a level 202 level, because you're going to have so much going on in your head. It's going to be hard for you to think of this. But when you do this over and over again, it becomes like automatic. You can start to layer in things like this, where you notice the way they talk, and you not mimic it, not parrot it, but match it in a way that you're going at the same pace or speed as them, right? And just subtly, and it's so powerful. So I'm glad we got to bring that in there. Okay.
Yeah, and real quick on that, I encourage you guys to even practice, like even at the grocery store, or even in random.
Oh, totally.
Because that's when you're going to be using intuitive conversations. You're like, what do I say? How do I say have a good day? But you can start practicing. Are they a little more somber? Are they more energetic? So practice with your friends, practice with your partner, practice at the grocery store. So then when you're on a call and you are thinking about what to say, the pacing and the tone, you've already practiced it.
So good. So how do you kind of transition from this phase two? Where do you kind of go from there?
Yeah, well, it becomes an easy transition, if you will, when we start using their words. So one transition I would say is, well, you know, what's great about Next Level is we have an entire structure to hold people to their commitments and work on their goal setting. So I will just repeat the obstacles and also repeat the goals. So what's great about Next Level is we have an entire structure that guides you through sticking to your commitments and spending more on Facebook ads to ultimately get you to give you the roadmap to get you to 500 members by the end of the year, or whatever it may be. So take where their obstacle was and then also reframe the goal to then lead into the offer.
So are you kind of recapping and summarizing after each question then, and then you go right into what's great?
Yeah, I guess I kind of skipped a step, but phase 3 is, for me, it's quite quick because I do repeat myself a lot after every question. So then the recap really is going back to their goal. What is their goal? So then when you go into the offer, you're very clear on what that goal was.
Okay. And again, guys, I think this is so important. What Jasmine's doing is so simple, but your coaching can do so many things and go in so many ways that you know, look at a sales page. Look at how long sales pages are, because they're trying to get everything in. You know, you don't need to have a mile-long sales page or a mile-long conversation about how you're going to help somebody when you just focus on the 2 or 3 things that they've told you is all that matters. When we look at Business by Design, people join for different reasons. Some people, they're like, I'm ready to scale. Some people, it's like, I just got to figure out what my first offer is. I'm ready to do my first launch. Other people, it's like, it's time for team. Like Polina was like, it's ready to go to 7 figures. So people join for different reasons. If I was talking to each of those people individually, I don't need to list all the reasons and all the benefits. I only need to talk about the ones that are relevant to that person. That's what's happening here. It's not about saying, oh, I'm just going to make my program about what they said it is. It's saying, no, our program does that. I'm only going to talk about those bullet points or those benefits or those problems or those values. And that means it's, in the end, it's so much shorter than listing out everything. You only need to talk about something if they've brought it up and made it relevant. So does that make sense? Let me know. And that you guys are still with us. Type in a yes in the chat box. And you'll see with Jasmine, it's really simple. She goes, she just made it as simple as, that's pretty much your transition, right? Well, what's great about our program or the offer or our coaching is that, and she's just linking everything that they've said. Is that pretty much how you do it, Jasmine?
Yes, it absolutely is. And you can throw in some, like another transition could be, you know, ultimately this could be about you doing this alone, about staying exactly where you are and working towards 500 members, or inside of blank program, we have insert their desire here. Mm-hmm. And then it's just about repeating it with a simple transition. Yes.
So good. And then how much of the offer do you go into them or in with them?
Well, you know, not much, because I find that if I've repeated enough and they're clear enough on their goals, that they'll say yes and then they'll want the details rather than the other way around. So one great question, and I actually, what do I call it? Presenting possibilities, to get them to actually say yes. A question I like to ask is, what would become possible, Garrett, what would become possible if you did have 500, when you do have 500 members in your membership, to be able to, and then I'd look at my notes, to be able to unlock so much more potential and to live the life you want and spend that time with your family? What would become possible?
It's great. And then where do you go? They'd answer that, but where do you, in this last piece, and I think this will be really valuable to people, where do you go to like get the commitment and get the sale? Like, what does that start to look like?
Yeah. So do you have your screen share? Because I was looking at it too.
Yes. Which one do you want? You want we've got two. We're going to give this all to you guys.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. So after I ask about possibilities, and after I say what's great about Business by Design or what's great about Next Level, then are you on the document? Oh yeah, I almost just say something just like this. So inside Business by Design, you'll find other digital entrepreneurs just like you. This is kind of wordy actually. But again, I will repeat what they want and attach it to the offer. So you'll come into BBD being surrounded by a community ready to take risks, a community who's spending big on Facebook ads and who want the same commitment from you. Once you give me your heck yes, I'll take your payment right now and you'll get immediate access. And that's important too, is you'll get immediate access. It shows them we're not waiting for anything. So I do say that once you give me your heck yes, I'll take your payment right now and you'll get immediate access to Business by Design. You can get started right away. And then I'll oftentimes just gauge and see what their response is.
Do you just kind of stop at usually at that moment?
Usually they're yes, because the next is kind of more features and more details. But once you give me your heck yes, I'll take your payment right away, because another big part of the sales calls is objections.
Yes.
And we just don't know what objections they're going to have. Like if we start talking about all the features, their objection just may be, well, when are the dates of the live retreat? And we just don't know. So
yeah. So it's at that point that someone's either going to say, great, let's do this, or they're going to have objections.
Yes.
And I want to, we can have a 2-hour call just on objections, but what you're going to want to do is we're going to go briefly over some of these. And no, you don't need to use these for higher price points, Pam. But it is going to be up to you on what it's going to be worth your time. You know, if you're doing this for $100 products, you're gonna be doing a lot of calls and a lot of work for $100. So it's ideal. It's more ideal for higher price things because it's more worth your time to do it. So that's something to look at. But let's look at objections really quickly. So what are some examples of objections that people are gonna have that would prevent them from buying? What are people gonna say? What are they gonna think? What kind of questions are they gonna ask? And what you're going to want to do, and very good, April, some of you guys are already starting to write these, but what you're going to want to do is have a complete list and take the time now to have a response. Jasmine, is it fair to say that when someone has an objection or a question now, after you've presented everything, that you already know where to go? Like, yes. Or are you like, oh gosh, I got to think of something really smart to say right now, right? And so if you're thinking on the spot, then, you know, that's going to be a lot more challenging. You're putting a lot more pressure on yourself. But yeah, things like, I don't have the time. I have to think about it. I can't afford it. I'm not ready for this. I don't know how much time it's going to take. I don't know if I have what it takes. I have to ask my spouse. These are all what's going to come up. And we don't, I mean, like, just for sake of time, like, I want to give you the best of these and I want to go really fast over these. But where this is going to really serve you is when you take the time to have a response for each, okay? Because this is what's going to make or break. Like, you're going to crush. Is it all fair to say that you guys can very confidently, easily do what we just did? You can role play it with somebody yourself first so you feel comfortable. But this is easy. Anybody can do this. Anybody can ask a couple of questions. But where, in my world, in my experience, where the sale is going to be made or broken is if you've done everything else right, it's going to come down to how we address those objections. Jasmine, would you agree?
Absolutely. And just to continue honing in on this point, you still want to reiterate their values and their goals, even amidst the objection. So it makes it even easier to respond to the objections. But yes, definitely.
So I want to call your attention to a little bit of objection training. And we're going to go really fast through this. This is for those who attended the live workshop. We went deeper on this at the workshop. And yes, you guys all get the recordings of that, of the Influence Framework workshop. So it's based on this. People have a perspective. Let me actually go back to the beginning here. And that perspective forms beliefs. Those beliefs can take the form of an objection. And most objections, not all, but most, take the form of a question. So a lot of people are going to be asking questions. And then the worst thing we can do is answer the question. Because if you just answer the question, you're not addressing the belief, you're not addressing the objection, you're not shifting the perspective, which means they got an answer, but it didn't do anything, okay? So here's a great example of this. People say, well, how long before I start getting results? How long does your course take to complete? How long is the coaching program, right? The objection is, if the time isn't what I want, then this is not the right program for me. It could be that this course is too long and I don't have the time, or it could be it's too short and not valuable enough. So that's the objection. But beneath that is the belief. The belief is that length of time has anything to do with value. So if someone were to come to me and say, how long is this course, if I'm selling a course, someone said, how long does BBD take to complete? I'd say, it's not a matter of how long the program is. It's a matter of how fast our students start seeing results. And we have students starting to get their money back, doing their first launch or getting their first coaching client within the first 7 to 14 days of getting in the program. And then from there on out, they keep finding value in the program from all the processes, the execution guides, the bonuses, and the resources. So it pays off dividends year after year. Notice, I didn't answer the question. I addressed the belief, right? So you're gonna have to take the time and really flush these out. People might say, well, this is interesting. Do you have any other past clients that are successful in the same type of niche as me or do the same thing as me? Do you have any other doctors that have been successful with this? Well, the objection could be, if you don't, then I doubt this is gonna work for me. Or it could be, if you do, then there's already competition, which means it won't work for me. So if you're not going down to the belief, you're in big trouble. And the belief here is what others do or don't do has any effect on your ability to experience success. So if I was on the phone with somebody and they're saying, well, do you have any other successful customers that are in the underwater basket weaving niche? I'd say, well, that's a good question, but let me ask you, what does anybody else being in the same niche have any bearing on you and your success? In other words, why is that relevant for you right now? And they might tell me, well, because, and then they'll give me the real objection. Well, if there is, then that means I can't be as successful. I'll say, so you're saying that if somebody else follows their dreams and go in their niche and they do their thing, and if you're doing something in the same space, that you won't be successful? Yeah. Well, I could then go, well, you know what? Did you know in America alone, car buyers have over 240 options when it comes to buying a car? Did you know that there's over 240 options buying a car? And so you have a lot of options when it comes from looking for four-wheeled vehicle transportation. Yet most car companies are wildly successful. They're not worried about all the other car options that car buyers have. So why are you worried about one other buyer out there or one other niche out there? Are you saying that someone else can't be successful and you can't be equally successful as well? And then I give an example of me, right? There's plenty of people that do what I do or do something similar. Where do you think I would be if I had that same type of belief that I can't be successful because someone else is doing what I'm doing? Okay. So I'm addressing the belief, not answering the question. Someone says, well, what's the success rate with your program? The objection is if the success rate isn't high enough, then it's not for me or I won't buy. But there's a belief behind that that says I'm not responsible for my own success. Right? So for me, I'm just going to ask them a bunch of questions. I'm like, well, what do you mean by success? Everyone's definition of success is different. How do you define success? And I said, you know, do we even want to count people that were uncoachable or didn't want to do what I asked them to do inside the program? They didn't take any action. They didn't take responsibility. Right? So we don't have to just answer questions that people pose at us just because someone asks a question. Right? I could even go back and say, let me ask you a question. What's your success rate with all the coaching programs that you've gone through? Because I feel that answer is going to actually have more bearing on how successful you're going to be when we work together. So a lot of what I'm doing is just asking questions. Perspective forms belief, which forms the objection, which is usually, but not always, manifested as a question. What I'm going to do here, again, all of this is inside your, will be from the influence framework. So I'm not going to go over all of it. But what I do want to do is spend a moment here, and Jasmine's going to do this with me, is talk about some of the objections that we're all going to have, that we're all going to face. So they get the price and they say, I don't have the money or I can't afford it. I'm going to tell you this right now. 99% of the time when someone says I don't have the money or I can't, especially I can't afford it, what they're really saying is they don't see the value in it. Okay? I don't see the value in it. And guess what? That's on you. It's our job to convey the value. So we didn't either elicit a big enough goal and a big enough problem, or we didn't do an effective job of connecting that back to the offer. So Jasmine, how do you start to identify and address this when this comes up for you?
Yeah, I actually like to go the consequence route with this. They shared what their values are and what's important to them. So there are kind of two routes we could go. Consequence would be, you know, what is it costing you to not have this time with your family and to not blank, blank, blank.
Yep.
I know that doesn't necessarily position the value of the offer.
No, it's good though. No. I mean, that's really good.
Yeah.
So telling the story or making the decision or having the belief, I don't have the money, we can point to the consequence, or even just asking them, like, what is that costing you to not get coaching and support that you need in order to get XYZ? You know, what is it costing you to try and figure this out on your own? Right.
Yeah. And I think the flip side would be in terms of the value of outlining. So there's consequence, but then there's a possibility. So let's bust the objection by looking at what they can actually create or what they can do in 30 days. So if they're not seeing the value of it, how can we demonstrate that they can even recoup their very first payment in the next 30 days?
Right. So if you're dealing with somebody who you're helping them grow business or make more money, then what Jasmine shared is awesome, because we could sit there and say, you know, one of the things we could say is like, I totally hear you and I totally get that. And chances are that's why you're here, is because you don't have the money. And that's actually what we're here to help with. So let me ask you this. How could you make the money? What if we could work together in the next 30 days so that this program already pays for itself? Wouldn't it be worth it then? Isn't that something you'd like to work together on? What if our first work together was to get you to be able to pay for this? And then everything from that moment on forward is like, you're playing with house money. Everything's just gravy, right? So that's called the possibility frame. How to ask a question that moves them back to the possibility of how they could make the money. How could you get the money? What if you did have the money? What would you need to do? Here's another thing. This is a great response, is just to say, how do you know that? I know it sounds so weird, When someone says, I don't have the money, you say, how do you know that? And what they have to do is they have to either say like that they literally don't have the money in their bank account. And you obviously don't want to be the type of person that like puts someone in debt or anything, or puts them in a financial hardship that would have them like get out a credit card or anything like that. Like that's not what we ever want to do. But a lot of times when someone's saying I don't have the money, what they're actually saying is they don't want to spend the money. Well, I have the money. I've never spent that much on something like this before. Okay. So that's why we're just challenging. I don't want to use the word challenging, but we're interrogating. I don't want to use that word. We're getting more inquisitive about what they've said. I don't have the money. How do you know you don't have the money? Well, I mean, I have the money. I just have never spent, like that'll happen, right? I just never spent this much money on anything before. So now we've moved away from that. Oh, it's not that you don't have the money. It's just this is a big investment and it's bigger than any investment you've ever made before. So now it's a completely different objection. We could then go from there and say, and what type of results would you need to get to make sure that this investment was worthwhile to you? Right? We're moving them back to the possibility frame. Okay. Anything to add on anything else you do with that one, Jasmine?
No, I like that. There's again the possibility or the consequence by bringing in their values, I think is the most important part. So yeah, those are probably the two most common directions that I go.
Beautiful. And then again, if people actually, I literally don't have the money, you know, again, we don't want to be the type of people, and I don't want to encourage anybody to do that. This isn't some like boiler room thing. It's more that people have the money and they're afraid to spend it because they've never done anything like this before. Most people get, you know, uncomfortable investing in themselves. And what a gift that we have to get them to do that. But if someone's like, no, I literally have $1 in my bank account, the only response I would encourage there is just a possibility frame. Like, I totally get that. Don't want you spending your last dollar on this. So if you did have the money, because that's the belief, is that I can't make money. If you did have the money, how might you have gone about getting it? How could you make the money? It's just powerful questions that get them to like get to be the cause in their life. Okay. How could you? What would need to happen, right? Now let's talk about the time. I don't have the time. It's not, now is not the right time, right? What they're really saying beneath all this is that it's not really that big of a problem or a priority for them. So how might you address something like this, Jasmine? You've had this comment like, I just don't feel like I have the time right now.
Yes, absolutely. And I also love the question for this. I don't have the time. Well, how do you know? And even chunking down, how much time would you need? And they may
so good. How much time would you need?
And they may even say, if I say, how do you know you don't have time? Well, I was in a previous coaching program and blah, blah, blah. And then we can say, well, that's great. Because here inside Business by Design, it's about helping you make the best use of your time and doing the right actions and doing them the right way. So you're literally just taking the very reason that they think they don't have time and presenting the solution for that.
Or another one say, I don't have the time. I could say, you don't have any time? Yeah. How much time do you have? And I could also bring out my whole, like the belief thing as I say, you know, I totally get that. Most people aren't sitting around with an abundance of time on their hands. But chances are one of the reasons why you're here is because you want to grow your business. And you know that by growing your business, it'll give you more time, right? So the way we look at time as entrepreneurs is that you know, we all have the same amount of hours in a day, right? Richard Branson, Donald Trump, I don't know, I always go to the old Donald Trump example, but that was before he was president. You know, successful entrepreneurs all have the same amount of hours in a day, even like your local mailman, right? But what I think we already know and can agree on is that successful entrepreneurs make the time for things that are a priority to them. And if you're saying you don't have the time, aren't you really saying that other things are more important than this? and that this is building your business. And then I go back to the values and what they want, taking your business to 7 figures, being in alignment and on purpose. Is that not a priority to you? And if you don't make it a priority, do you really think you're going to get there? And if you're not going to make it a priority now, then when? Right? So these are just some questions that we can ask and some ways that we can frame this. Another thing we can do too is when someone said now is not the right time, you could say, well, when is the right time? Just ask. And you don't, it's be in rapport, ask because you care, and say, how will you know when the time is right? When exactly is the right time? You're just curious. And most people cannot answer that question. Most people will continue to say the right time is coming someday, one day, but not now. Right? Well, now is all we have anyways. So well, isn't right now the best time it'll ever be? You know? And they might have a great answer. It's like, honestly, like I'm pregnant, I'm about to have a kid. Like, yeah, probably want to wait. Probably want to do that if that works for you. You know, like I'm gonna go into labor any day now. Yeah, it's probably not the right time right now, right? So there are reasons that are justified, but a lot of people are just saying it and they just keep saying that. How long have you already been saying that now is not the right time? You know, at the beginning of the call, you said this has been a goal you've been working on for 3 years. I have to imagine you've been telling yourself it's not the right time yet. So when will it be? Garrett's saying, what if your offer is not an all-encompassing offer like BBD, solving a much smaller problem? Is it coaching? Let me know if it's coaching. Because if it's coaching, the coaching becomes very flexible to what it is that they're. So I'm using all of this specifically to get. So Garrett, I wouldn't use this for a membership. You know, I'm specifically tailoring this conversation to like getting coaching clients and how I would address those objections there on a call. Because if you're working with a coaching client, it really is all encompassing because they're telling you what they want coaching on, and you're working. It's a customized, experience. You know what I mean? So it really is so much more. So here's my example. You guys can screenshot of that, of how we say I don't have the time. Let's see. So let's go over what people are taking a screenshot of that. Let's go over, Jasmine, like when someone says, I have to think about it. Have you had that? And how do you address that?
Yeah, I'll get that quite a bit. And again, I wanted to be specific. So I'll ask, well, what exactly are you going to be thinking about?
Oh, it's great.
Or something like, great, let's think about it together.
Yeah, I totally get it. Like, what is it you want to think about? What is it you are thinking about already?
Yeah.
And is there anything I could help you think through? You can also do something in the offer to create urgency or scarcity and say, hey, I totally get that. I love to reward action takers. So I'm willing to take X amount of dollars off or add XYZ gift if we can get a commitment and a credit card on the phone. Is that something you're willing to do?
Yeah. And I think it's important to know, everyone, that an objection, it's not a no. So the fact that they are presenting these objections is all the more reason to not let them fight for these limitations that they're presenting, because they did not say no. So that's where at the very beginning, before I even wanted to say, well, too much teaching is a mistake, I feel like that's where we bring our crap in. We feel that objection equals no, when really objection is just a beautiful opportunity for us to show them what can become possible for them. So I think that's really important as we're going over these objections, is it's not trying to convince them and it's not a no, but it's how can I demonstrate how, just how it is a great fit for them. So
yeah. Okay, so Polina's got a great one. I don't make decisions on the spot. I need to sleep on it. Now there's multiple options and ways that you can go about this. I'm going to give you a kind of aggressive way to go about it, and then we can tone it down. So if someone came to me and said that and say, look, I just don't make decisions on the spot, I would say, I totally honor and respect that. And chances are I have to assume that the reason that you've decided to believe that, notice I'm already telling them it's a belief, that you've decided to believe that is because you've been burned in the past, right? That maybe you don't trust yourself, and you don't trust your intuition. I totally get that. But two things I want to, make sure I bring your intention. Number one, the discount or the bonus or whatever I said, like that does come off the table on this call. So I do want you to make sure that I'm firm on my word, and that's the offer. Number two, if you're coming to me to grow your business, one thing I cannot help you with is how to get people to buy on the spot. So if that's something you're unwilling to do yourself, I hope you also understand I can't help you get and attract clients that can make decisions on the spot because it's something you're unwilling to do yourself. Obviously, that only works if you're talking about business, sales, and marketing. But in my case, I can say that works. Okay. And that's, look, between us girls, that's something that is like, I see it left and right. People play the double-edged sword with everything. They're unwilling to do what they want their customers to do themselves. I just don't invest in myself, but they want to sell an online course, right? They wait to the last minute to buy a program, but they want everyone to buy on day one of their stuff, and they got all bent out of shape. And Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. I'm not in any slightest bit comparing myself to Gandhi, but I absolutely believe you need to be the customer that you want to attract in your business. And if you're unwilling to do the things that you want your customer to do, don't expect them to do it. If you don't invest in yourself, you're never going to attract people that invest in themselves. So I bring that out. I point that to someone's attention. It's like, that's totally get that. But if you want and expect me to show you how to get people that make decisions on the spot, that comes off the table too. Because I can't get your people to do something that you're unwilling to do yourself. Okay. So that doesn't apply universally. But yeah. Other than that, I honor it. And I'd still say, like, I still offer some sort of decision or deadline. So I'd say, so a softer way is to say, you know what, I totally get that. I really want to honor that. So here's what I'm willing to do. How much time do you need? And then they could give me, they're like, I need 24 hours. I say, great. I'm going to give you until tomorrow night at midnight. And I'm willing, because I really honor and respect that. I'm going to extend this offer, this on the call offer, to that point at midnight. But I am going to tell you at that point, I do need a decision. So I'm willing to extend it, but I want to compromise here is that whether you're a yes or a no, you're in or not, you want our help or not, I'm requesting that I get a decision either way by that time at midnight. In other words, I'm not going to chase you down, but I also don't want you to ghost me. So will you give me your word that you'll give me an answer before tomorrow midnight, just so we know, so we're not wasting anybody's time? Great. And if it's a yes before then, I'm willing to honor that. Okay. So I could try that, but it's obviously, guys, like, if you're, I hate to say it, but like when people leave, they're far less likely to come in, Yeah. And Paulina's right. Like, you're going to get more, you're more going to get the no. Okay. So, I would just set up some sort of parameter and guidelines. So you're getting them to agree that they're going to come to a decision, and they're not going to just go hide and whatnot, because they need to come back and at least make the decision. Okay. So that's how you could approach this. Jasmine, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, what I'll often say when they bring that up, I just need to think about it. Yes, absolutely honor it. I mean, sometimes they'll say, I want to go meditate on it. So meet them where they are, honor it. But I will just ask the question, what's preventing you from being a hell yes right now? So we can elicit more of what they're actually going to be thinking about.
Yeah, it's really great. I love that. What's preventing this from being a hell yes for you right now? Okay. last big objection, unless you guys want to bring some onto the table that are, I forgot this one. I got to talk to my spouse. And we had a great conversation about that. It's all recorded in the Influence Framework recordings. But it's a great conversation. Best practice is totally get that. I want them getting on board. And there's two things we did there to help with that. The first is saying, it's important that you and your spouse are on the same page. Let me ask you, is this you just having a conversation with them, or do you feel like you need to get their permission? And if it's just about asking for permission, there is another belief that we could adjust there about saying, so if you already know that this is a hell yes for you and you already know it's going to help you, why do you feel like you need to get permission to get the help and support you need? So you can kind of start to challenge that belief and get them to look at that a little differently. But the best response, most effective response, is going to be somewhere to the ilk of, great, how can I help support you in communicating effectively what you need to communicate to your husband or your wife to get them on board? How can I help you with that? And then you get them on board. And then again, I would still go, okay, great. So like, when are you going to have that conversation, right? So you're kind of coaching them through that. And then when are you going to have this conversation? And then when can we expect a response, or when can we expect a decision or a reply? Jasmine, what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, I agree. I think it's similar to the one before of honor it and still set parameters.
Yeah. There's just such a great conversation. You'll hear it in the recordings about the difference between someone who's like trying to get permission versus just getting their spouse on board. Big difference there, So really great. The last thing that's going to be a really big objection is people doubting themselves. I don't think I can do this. I don't think I have what it takes. I don't believe this, will work for me. And, there's a lot you could do. Do you feel like you get that on the calls at all? Or people are just like, I just still don't know if I have what it takes?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, that's why it's important to know what their values are, because they can continue working towards how they've been doing it and not achieving their goals. But if we continually go back to those values, then they'll see that it's more important that they reach those goals than continue to think that they don't have what it takes.
Here's what I would say. Absolutely. Here's what I would say if someone says, like, at the end of the day, I'm just like, I'm just afraid, like, if they come to you and they're like, you're amazing, I'm excited about this, but at the same time, like, I just don't know if I have what it takes. First, I'd say, well, what do you mean by that? Like, I just don't know if I have what it takes to make this happen. I would point it all back to, like, that's why you're here. Be like, isn't that why you're here? If you're operating from some doubt right now that you don't have what it takes, how likely are you to achieve this result, that XYZ result you shared, if you're left to your own devices doing this alone?
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead. I had more, but go
ahead. You keep going.
Then I love to add this piece in. I'd say, okay, so here's this XYZ result. You want to get to 7 figures. Let me ask you this. On a scale of 1 to 10, how badly do you want this? And they'd say, it's 10, right? It's 11. I'll say, look, I don't know about you, but I believe wholeheartedly that any desire, that you can't have a desire that's born within you, and this is a desire that's born within you, right? Yes. You can't have a desire that's born within you that you don't already have the innate potential and resources and talents for. Do you believe that? Oh yeah, I love that. Right? Like, you don't have a desire to become a professional basketball player, and you probably don't have the talent for it either, right? So the fact that you want this so bad means you already have what it takes inside of you. Now it's just a matter of unlocking that talent and potential. And how much more effectively you're going to do that with the right coaching. That's what I'm here to help you with. Yeah, Polina, that's great. Polina said the same thing. The fact that you have a desire for love means you can find it. Yeah. You know, I don't know about you, but I don't believe God intended for people that wanted love the most to be the most lonely and alone and never find their partner. Maybe they just need a little guidance and a little support. But the fact that you have that desire for love means that you will find it. All right, that's beautiful. I love that. So good. Okay, Jasmine, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I remembered what I said to this, something tangible rather than just like go back to their values. So I don't believe I have what it takes. I feel like it's fairly close to identity level. So I'll think of something that we know that they can likely agree that they have within them. For example, commitment. And I'll say, you know, this is really about us showing up. We're going to show up 100% and give 100% of 50%. And what this is about is you showing up 100% of the other 50%. So this is simply about you making that commitment. Can you do that?
So good.
Something along those lines to show them, I don't have what it takes. I'm not worthy. Like sometimes I won't even go there, and just show them all it actually takes is just commitment. And really, really chunk down so they can agree that, oh, well, I can commit. Can you commit tomorrow to at least go through module 1? Can you commit to getting on our first call, and just really break it down that all it takes is commitment?
I love that. That's really good. So you guys are getting a lot of different ways to handle this. And part of the work is to prep yourself to have your own response. And a lot of the responses should really just be like questions. Well, do you have the commitment to do the work? Because if the commitment's there, then you have what it takes, right? So there's just like some great questions. So just to recap really quickly, when we look at the map, I told you guys the 95% of this is going to come down to that call. We're giving you this entire process with the script outline and a specific script example of questions and things you can do. So you have a few options here. Do you guys feel like, especially if you practice this once or twice with a friend, a family member, that you would feel fairly confident to start going out and having these calls with someone who already wants to work with you? Sweet. Awesome. Again, this isn't something revolutionary or new, okay? We've been doing this for a long time. It works really well. And what's also awesome is whether someone's a yes or a no, they're still getting value because of the clarity in the questions you ask will create so much clarity for them. It's so awesome. But I want to quickly go over the other pieces of this. And one of the big pieces that you may be asking now is, how do you book the call itself? How do you get people booking calls, right? There's a process of like booking and what software, and that's all here. But I want to give you guys a few ways to do this. The first one is we want to start with the low. Apparently Jim has a call starting in 7 minutes. So if you guys got to go, you got to go. We're going to keep going. So let's talk about some specific ways to book the call. The first one is low-hanging fruit. The low-hanging fruit is the warmest audiences. 90% of the plus $1 million generated from Jasmine are from people directly reaching out to us in Instagram. That's it. People are reaching out on Instagram saying, "Hi, can I work with you? I want to get involved. I'm looking for help. This is what I'm struggling with." And we literally just send them to a call with Jasmine. When you're putting out great content, when you're helping people, when you're reaching people and providing value, they're already going to reach back out to you and say, "How could I work with you? Could you help me with this?" You want to say, "Yep, let's get on a call." Again, you can make this more complicated if you'd like, but it's nice to keep it simple. So social media, direct messages, private messaging, Instagram DMs. These are great places to start building relationships and getting people on a call. The next low-hanging fruit is going to be emails. And we have included examples of swipe emails that you can play with that start to talk about, "Hey, I'm bringing on some coaching clients. I'm looking to bring on some coaching clients. I have a few spots left, or here's this program that we have. If you're interested in it, book a call. It's real simple, right? You can also, on your blog or your website, start to have tabs and pages saying, want to work with me. Fill out an application, right? You can also put this invite to get coaching in your funnels. One of the most engaged places or times someone's going to be is right after they opt in for something for free. They opt in for your free PDF, your free ebook, your free process PDF, your free meditation, your free audio. Bam, you can have a follow-up email saying, already excited to get to work together. You know, click here to get a call to see if we're a right fit. I'd love to help you with XYZ. You can start putting this invitation everywhere. You're casting these nets. These are the low-hanging fruit that's going to attract the warmest, most engaged people. This is as far as we've ever gone with it. So we've done over $1 million, and we don't know the exact number. We just know it's more than $1 million in less than 2 years just doing that. When you want to scale, you can begin to look at how you can use, and it goes beyond this, a free webinar to get people from Facebook ads and social media to a webinar. And from that free webinar, instead of selling something, your call to action is to book the call. And if it's an automated webinar, that's even more amazing because you don't have to do it and attend it and do it live every single time you want to do it. This could be an automated webinar that you're offering that positions you as the authority, tells them how you work with people, what process you do, like your framework, your coaching, and then said, you want to work together? Here's the link to get on a call. Okay? So there's many ways, and we really can keep it so simple. And we've taught this to so many people, and they've just started reaching out on Instagram or putting a post or going live on Facebook. Teaching a tip and saying, hey, if you're looking for ways that we could work together, if you have, this is a very simple phrase, if you're struggling with XYZ, I can help. Reach out to me and let's hop on a call. If you're struggling to scale your business and you want to take it to 7 figures, but you're struggling on how you can do that, send me a private message. We can hop on a call. I'd love to help. Okay? You could do a Facebook Live every day and make that call to action, a Facebook Live every week. But now you know, just got to get those 10 calls booked. Got to get 10 people on the call, close at 50%. I now know what to say on the call and what to do. These calls can be as little as 20 minutes, no more than 60 minutes, and you're going to start getting your coaching clients. Again, I know there's going to be some questions here on some of the details. We've mapped it all out. I've had clients at every level follow this entire process. So one other thing I want to talk about, which is whether you do an application page or not, when they schedule their call, we even talk about like how to schedule the call. We use Calendly, real simple. You can get it right here, right? You have this whole thing. After they schedule the call, we do a video for them. And it's a video that they watch before they jump on the call. Jasmine, do you want to take, this is like the last thing we're going to talk about. What are some of the things that you would suggest that they have in this video that they watch before hopping on the call?
Yes, I'm writing them down so don't forget. Authority position. Okay, so 3 main things I feel like are honing in on their responsibility in a very positive way, like presenting possibilities and kind of like amping them up. Like, this is your time, you're reaching out for a reason, acknowledge them. The other thing is positioning the offer. So for next level, for example, James in the video positions it next to Inner Circle, or we could position a lower price product next to a higher price product. So positioning the offer to ultimately show that it's a no-brainer. And then the third that you do is either positioning yourself or who they're going to speak to as an authority.
Yes.
Because before we had the video, the call would start with me just sharing who I was, and it took away from so much of the call. But they didn't know who I was. So this is something you can do in the video is positioning yourself as the authority and already creating that rapport.
One of the things, I cannot stress enough, if you can even just add testimonials, stories, not testimonials, more case studies and stories in this video, it's going to get them excited about what's possible. It's going to establish you as the credible authority, as Jasmine is saying, and it's going to really anchor like what's about to happen for them. So it could be as simple as saying, I'm so excited to hop on our call. And, chances are I'm preaching to the choir when I tell you that the right coaching to help you get XYZ is one of the most valuable things we can be doing. Here's some of the really exciting results that have come from past clients that I've worked with. Michelle was able to hit 7 figures in less than 12 months. Tony was able to build and scale out his team. So now he only works as little as 3 hours a day, right? This is showing the results. It's conveying authority. It's giving proof. It's getting them excited. It's such a important piece of this. If you're on top of that, just to reiterate what Jasmine said, it's so important that you lay the expectations again of what's going to happen on this call. So I want to take a moment and give you just kind of a lowdown of how this call is going to go so that you come to the call getting the most out of it. First of all, this is not a free coaching call. This is not a free advice hour. As you know, I work with clients and we do a one-on-one coaching arrangement, and I have several packages and opportunities. We're going to talk about that at the end of the call, but I don't do free coaching. I don't do free advice giving. And if that's what you thought this call was, I'm going to just tell you right now, send my team an email and let me know that this is not a right fit, because I don't want to disappoint anybody. Okay. We're getting on this call to see, it's what we call a discovery call, to see where your goals are, what's getting in the way. It's going to give you a ton of clarity, and it's going to allow us both the opportunity to see if I can help you and if we're a right fit for each other. Because the last thing you want to do is work with somebody that you don't want to work with. And so this call is a very important call for us for those reasons. We need to make sure that we're on the right page, that where you're at is somewhere I can, and where you want to go is something I can actually help you with, and that I'm the right coach for you. And so that's why this call is really important. That's what we're going to do. Okay. I also end with a very important piece of saying, and by the way, integrity is very important to me. It should be very important to you. So if for any reason you can't make this call, I need you to communicate that to me as soon as possible. If you're a no-show and you don't tell me, you don't communicate, there's no chance of rescheduling. So I just need you to tell me. Okay. So these are very important things to include. You can obviously input anything else, but you want to keep it under 10 minutes, like a 6 to 8 minute video is all you need. It's getting them ready for the call so you don't have to waste time saying these things on the call. What Jasmine does today, she goes, hey, did you watch that video after you registered? And if they say no, Jasmine, what do you say to them?
I tell them that we're not going to proceed because this call is for those who, well, it depends on how aggressive I want to be, but we don't proceed and they have to reschedule the call.
Yeah. Yeah. So she'll end the call. It's like, totally get it. But unfortunately, I can't do this call until you've watched that video. That was the one agreement we had before getting on the call. And it's important you watch that video. And so if you'd like to watch that video and reschedule the call, I'm here for you. But thanks so much. Because that's them demonstrating the qualification. They are qualifying themselves to you. And if they're saying, look, I'm not really going to take the time to do something. I'm not really going to watch a video. I don't have time, or I have my excuses. You don't want to work with that person anyways. They're already demonstrating that they're being uncoachable. It's so indicative. Past behavior predicts future behavior, unfortunately. Sad but true, but that's a huge indicator. You don't, it's not about chasing people. If they're not showing themselves that they're worthy to work with you, then why are you going to just waste your time and energy with people that you're going to end up not enjoying? You're going to resent yourself. You're going to regret, why did I take this person on? They're just making me miserable. Your happiness, your fulfillment is more important than money. Okay. So you got to be willing to say no to people that are going to bleed your energy. Okay, so there's so much here. We covered a lot really fast, but we wanted to spend as much time with you as possible on the phone call breakdown. You're getting access to this. You're getting access to the recording of all of this. You're getting access to our really cool full jazzy sales script that we use specifically for Business by Design. You get to tailor it yourself, and you're going to get to plug in all the detail pieces of this, of how you create this map. If you want an application, what do you say in the application? What does it look like? The video, the landing page, how to accept payment. Do you want to have a deposit before or only at the end of the call? That's really up to you, okay? So that's it. I mean, we want to keep it as simple as possible for you guys. Jasmine, before we wrap up, if there's any other questions coming in that you guys want us to go over quickly, now's the time to put it in. Jasmine, do you have any other final thoughts?
My final thoughts are to practice.
Totally.
Practice.
I cannot stress this enough. If you're looking for a more fancy, complicated, sophisticated thing, you can keep running around doing that. But this is about simplicity and getting really good at something that's very simple. Okay. So practice, practice, practice. You'll just get better at it. Are you willing to get 5 no's so that you can get a bunch of yeses? I hope you are. Stay detached, stay curious, have fun with it. And Garrett, no, there is no difference between doing group coaching versus one-on-one. It's the exact same process. It's just a different offer at the end. Great question. And yes, you get this exact process. When you have this in Process Street, you can print it out, you can export it, you can edit to it, you can add your notes to it, you can share it with your team, you can share it with a sales team person. So exciting, so flexible, but you're going to get all of it, okay? All the steps, everything. You could build this out fast. All right, so that's it. Thank you guys so much. We're going to get the recordings, the replays available ASAP and all the resources to you guys so you have this. I just ask that you use it. You commit to those. Hey, I'm going to get those 10 calls. Be willing to make mistakes, make it ugly, give yourself permission to mess it up, because when you practice, you'll get better and better and better. How can we share results with you? Can you email us at customersuccess@jameswilmer.com or send me a message on Instagram. I'd love to hear how this is working for you. That would make me so happy. So yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Jasmine, for posting it. All right, you guys, that was it. We went just over 2 hours with it. Wishing you the best. Go, please coach people, help people, because coaching is the thing that's like, it helps people. I don't know. It's the difference that makes a difference. That's all I can say. So go out there, serve those people, live your purpose, and get paid to do it, right? Thank you. Take care.